What is exactly going on in Weatherfield right now? If you thought Carl Webster was actually turning over a new leaf and leaving his incredibly selfish tricks behind, you clearly have not been paying attention to his long, dark history on the cobbles. What a surprise, said absolutely nobody ever. Carl is completely bad news. We are talking about the kind of guy who would engage in secret intimacy with his own brother's wife without a second thought. But it goes so much deeper and darker than that. This is the exact same man who was responsible for a major vehicular incident involving our beloved Tyrone Dobbs, where he just drove away without looking back. Let us not beat around the bush here. This man is 100% capable of drunkenly causing a massive multi-car pile-up that tragically resulted in the sudden passing of the local vicar, only to turn around and severely gaslight his own mother, who is deeply suffering from dementia, into taking the blame for the entire fatal event. If you are as hooked on this intense Weatherfield drama as I am, and want to stay ahead of all the twists, secrets, and shocking reveals, make sure you hit that like button right now and subscribe to CoronationST Update. We bring you the absolute best, most detailed breakdowns and juicy theories every single week. So join our community, turn on those notifications, and never miss a single moment of the action. Now, let us really dive into the psychology of the worst Webster to ever walk the street. Carl is so objectively awful and fundamentally broken that he was naturally included in the terrifying lineup of 5 nefarious villains who could have met a grim end during the recent big Weatherfield mystery. He was sharing top billing with some of the most despicable figures in the show's history. We are talking about being ranked right alongside the highly toxic and harmful partner Theo Silverton and the deeply manipulative and entirely inappropriate predator Megan Walsh. When your name is being tossed around in the same breath as those individuals, you know you have crossed every single moral boundary imaginable. Accusations surfaced about all of them, but Carl always seems to find a way to slither out of the consequences. His actions are not just mistakes, they are calculated, deeply destructive choices that leave a trail of emotional and physical wreckage behind him. Even his incredibly long-suffering mother, Debbie Webster, reached her absolute breaking point. We have watched Debbie try to see the good in him, desperately holding on to that maternal hope that maybe, just maybe, her boy could be redeemed. But even she could not put up with his deplorable, toxic behavior any longer. The emotional toll of watching her son destroy everything he touches finally shattered her resolve. That is exactly why she made the agonizing decision to hand him an envelope stuffed with £2,000 in cash. It was essentially a payoff to sling his hook, pack his bags, and leave the cobbles for good. It was a heartbreaking moment of a mother officially washing her hands of her own flesh and blood, prioritizing the safety of her family and her own sanity over her deeply flawed son. But of course, nothing is ever that simple when it comes to this family. Enter Kevin. Determined to get the last laugh and fiercely protective of the people he loves, Kevin made absolutely sure to intercept that money. He stole that $2,000 right back out from under Carl so he could safely return it to Debbie. Kevin has always been the fiery protector, and he was not about to let Carl walk away with a financial reward for a lifetime of misery and manipulation. However, Kevin severely underestimated just how vindictive Carl can be. Not willing to simply take the loss, accept defeat, and move on to greener pastures, completely furious, Carl decided to take matters into his own hands in the most dangerous way possible. Under the cover of darkness, Carl snuck into his uncle's garage. He crept around the very place that has been the heart of the Webster family for decades and purposely tampered with one of the cars Kevin was working on. Let us be entirely clear about what this was. This was basically an attempted taking of a life. Sabotaging a heavy vehicle suspended on a jack is a life-threatening move that, out of all the incredibly evil things Carl has ever orchestrated, still somehow only ranks somewhere in the middle of his dark resume. He knew exactly what he was doing, and he fully intended for Kevin to suffer a catastrophic, unalive level event. Fortunately for Kevin, Carl did not quite have the time to finish his sinister sabotage. The universe has a strange way of intervening on Coronation Street, and right at the crucial moment, someone completely unexpected interrupted Carl in the shadows of the garage. In the sudden panic and confusion, this mystery person accidentally knocked the car jack. The heavy metal slipped, sending the entire massive vehicle crashing down directly onto Carl himself. The irony is almost poetic. The very trap he set for his uncle became his own crushing downfall. And who was the person responsible for this accidental dose of karma? None other than Tyrone Dobbs. Yes, the friendliest, most warm-hearted mechanic in Weatherfield is the one who inadvertently sent a 2-ton vehicle plummeting onto the worst Webster. However, Tyrone is absolutely not about to tell Carl that he was the one in the garage that night. He is keeping his mouth completely shut, and honestly, can you blame him? Given the deeply bitter history between them, including that terrible hit-and-run incident from the past, it might look way too much like intentional, cold-blooded revenge rather than a clumsy accident. Tyrone is currently carrying an enormous amount of guilt. He is a good man, a family man, and the thought that he almost caused the permanent passing of another human being is eating him alive from the inside out. Every time he looks at his hands, every time he walks into that garage, the heavy weight of that secret presses down on his chest. If you thought being almost entirely flattened by a falling old banger was enough of a wake-up call to make Carl Webster finally turn over a new leaf, then you clearly have not been watching enough Coronation Street. Carl does not learn lessons. He only learns how to manipulate situations to his advantage. Right now, he is playing a deeply twisted psychological game. He is pretending to have absolutely no memory of the accident or the moments leading up to it. He is acting like a blank slate, but do not let the confused act fool you for a single second. The sleaziest member of the Webster clan already knows that Tyrone is hiding something. Carl can smell the guilt radiating off Tyrone from a mile away. He sees the nervous glances, their hesitations, the way Tyrone avoids eye contact. Carl is determined to figure out exactly what happened, and he is using Tyrone's own innate goodness as a weapon against him. One could certainly argue that Carl has every fundamental right to know who exactly tried to smush him with a car. But lying about your memory loss to gain a tactical advantage, playing mind games, and subtly threatening the most beloved mechanic in Weatherfield is not exactly an encouraging sign of a newly reformed character. Carl is circling Tyrone like a shark that has just tasted a drop of blood in the water. He is slowly turning up the pressure, dropping little hints, making passing comments that leave Tyrone sweating through his overalls. It is a masterclass in psychological manipulation, and it is almost guaranteed to end in absolute tears. But hold on to your seats, because it is about to get so much worse. Because of course it is. This is Weatherfield, and trouble is always brewing just beneath the surface. Carl has a notoriously bad track record when it comes to the automotive industry. Aside from the aforementioned tragic hit and run and the devastating multi-car pile-up that took the life of the vicar, Carl has a deep, shadowy past involving the sale and distribution of highly questionable motors. Back in the day, he used to deal in deeply dodgy cars with a career rule-breaker named Fiona Morley. Fiona is not someone you want to cross. She is a sharp, calculating operator who supplied Carl with faulty, dangerous vehicles to flip for a quick, under-the-table profit. Fortunately for the innocent drivers of Weatherfield, their little underground operation, which was basically the street's own deeply unsettling version of Grand Theft Auto, eventually fell completely apart. Kevin and Ronnie had caught onto the scent of their illegal activities. In a bold and risky move, Kevin and Ronnie planned to cleverly frame Carl as the sole mastermind, the absolute brains behind the entire shady operation, and they were going to use Fiona's help to do it. It was a brilliant plan to finally get Carl out of the picture and protect the integrity of the local business community. But when Ronnie suddenly got cold feet, realizing the severe danger they were putting themselves in, the plan crumbled. A deeply scorned and frustrated Fiona immediately blew the whistle on their entire setup, revealing everything to a completely furious Carl. The fallout was incredibly messy, leaving bridges permanently burned and alliances entirely shattered. Now, as we look toward the highly anticipated upcoming scenes, we are going to see Carl dangerously tempted to slide right back into his old, destructive ways, all in the desperate pursuit of cold, hard cash. He is currently at a major crossroads, feeling backed into a corner by his own family. A deeply bitter and completely unyielding Kevin approaches Carl and informs him that he has received a formal letter from another local garage. They are requesting a professional reference for Carl so he can secure a new job and finally start earning an honest living. Quite understandably, given everything that has transpired, Kevin looks Carl dead in the eye and tells him he can absolutely whistle for it. Kevin refuses to put his own hard-earned reputation on the line, and he flat-out denies Carl the reference he desperately needs to move forward. This rejection stings Carl deeply. It is a stark reminder that he is an outcast, entirely isolated and untrusted by the very people who should be his support system. And it is right in this incredibly vulnerable, frustrated moment that the universe decides to test him. Just as Kevin turns his back, Carl's phone lights up. He takes the call, and who is on the other end of the line? It is none other than Fiona Morley. She is back, her voice dripping with that familiar, dangerous charm, and she is offering him a brand new opportunity. She has some more dodgy, highly questionable work lined up, and she wants Carl back in the driver's seat. This is the ultimate cliffhanger. Will Carl find the inner strength to resist this dark temptation? Will he finally realize that going down this deeply risky path will only lead to more pain, more accusations surfacing, and potentially the complete loss of his freedom? Or will the sting of Kevin's rejection push him right back into the shadows? Will he fully embrace his dark side once more, teaming up with Fiona to reignite their dangerous hustle? If he takes this job, he is not just risking his own future, he is putting the entire street back in jeopardy. The faulty cars, the shady deals, the constant threat of the authorities closing in, it is a recipe for an absolute disaster. And let us not forget the ticking time bomb that is Tyrone Dobbs. If Carl gets back into the criminal underworld with Fiona, he will have access to resources, dangerous connections, and a renewed sense of ruthless power. What happens when a newly empowered, criminally connected Carl finally pieces together the truth about the night the car fell on him? What happens when he realizes that Tyrone, the man he is currently tormenting, is the one who nearly ended his life? The collision course between Carl's rising dark empire and Tyrone's fragile secret is going to be one of the most explosive confrontations we have seen in years. Tyrone is trying desperately to hold his family together, focusing on Fizz and the kids, but this dark cloud is hovering right over number 9, threatening to unleash a storm that could wash away everything he holds dear. We also have to consider the incredible emotional fallout for Debbie. If she finds out that the money she offered him was stolen back by Kevin, and that Carl is now deeply embedded in the shady underworld once again, it might actually break her. She has tried so hard to protect the Webster name, to elevate their status and keep the family out of the tabloids. Having her son actively operating as a career rule breaker right under her nose is a burden she simply should not have to carry. The family dynamics are stretched to their absolute snapping point, and the tension in the garage is thick enough to cut with a wrench. Every single character is currently dancing on a razor's edge, Kevin is trying to be the righteous protector, but is inadvertently pushing his nephew into the arms of a dangerous associate. Tyrone is paralyzed by guilt and playing a terrifying game of cat and mouse with a master manipulator. Debbie is entirely unaware of the storm brewing right outside her bistro doors. And Carl? Carl is standing at the precipice, holding a phone to his ear, with the power to either walk away or plunge Weatherfield into absolute chaos once again. This is the kind of deeply intricate, edge-of-your-seat storytelling that makes us tune in week after week. The stakes have never been higher, the secrets have never been darker, and the consequences will undoubtedly change the landscape of the cobbles forever. I want to hear exactly what you think is going to happen next. Drop your wildest theories in the comments section down below. Will Tyrone crack under the immense psychological pressure and confess everything? Will Fiona's new shady operation bring the local authorities knocking on Kevin's garage doors? And what exactly is Carl's ultimate endgame here? Thank you so much for tuning in to today's deep dive into the absolute madness of the Webster family. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want to keep up with all the daily drama, theories, and exclusive updates, please do not forget to hit that subscribe button, smash the like button, and share this video with your fellow Weatherfield fanatics. Stay safe, keep your eyes on the cobbles, and I will see you in the next video for even more Coronation Start update.